What will happen when a group of hunters enters the deep woods, thinking it's just another adventure? As they go further, something unexpected waits for them. Something that will test their courage in ways they never imagined. Will they make it out? Or have they gone too far? The story begins with a group of hunters excited for a big adventure. They had done this before, but today felt different. It had been a long time since they last ventured into the woods, and they were sure that today would be the day they finally made a huge catch. They all dreamed of becoming heroes, the talk of other hunters once they made their mark. Everyone believed they could succeed, but not all of them were completely confident. Some members of the group were nervous, unsure of what could go wrong, but still the excitement in the air was undeniable. They gathered their gear and headed into the deep woods, ready for whatever the day would bring. Among them was Liam, the youngest of the group. He walked quietly at the back, clutching his rifle. Even though he had used weapons before, this was different. Today, he would actually be hunting, and that made him nervous. He wasn't the type to have a strong connection with animals, but the wilderness scared him. He kept his eyes on Henry, their leader, who seemed so sure of himself. Liam couldn't help but wonder if he was truly ready for what lay ahead in the unknown forest. Henry, unlike Liam, knew these mountains like the back of his hand. He had grown up here, and for him, this was just another adventure. He moved forward with ease, stepping over rocks and branches as if they weren't even there. Liam, on the other hand, felt relieved that someone like Henry was leading the way. As long as Henry was in charge, he felt a little safer, even though the unknown still made him uneasy. As they walked deeper into the woods, the path started changing. What had once been a smooth trail turned rough and tricky. The ground was uneven, and some hunters started slipping. Every step felt harder, and they soon realized not many had ever made it this far. But Henry didn't slow down. He ignored the complaints and told everyone to keep moving if they wanted to finish the journey. While some grew frustrated, they couldn't help but admire how easily he moved through the difficult terrain, as if the mountains belonged to him. But the real trouble began when the trees around them grew thicker, taller, and harder to move through. The path became unclear, and Liam couldn't shake the feeling that they were lost. He started wondering if they would even find any animals here, let alone complete their hunt. Just as he was about to speak up, something unexpected happened. A small bear cub stepped onto the path. The hunters froze. It wasn't the kind of animal they had hoped to find, but it was still a wild creature. Even though it was young, it was much bigger than Liam had imagined. His heart pounded as he stared at it. The group stood still, unsure of what to do. They all thought the same thing. If the cub was here, its mother couldn't be far away, and that was the last thing any of them wanted to face. They soon realized they were not alone. As the cub wandered off, more cubs appeared from the trees. What started as one small bear turned into an entire family. The sight made everyone uneasy. Even Henry, who always seemed sure of himself, hesitated for a moment. The hunters had been warned to avoid wild bears, and now they were surrounded. No one knew what would happen next. The air grew tense. The bears watched them. Curious but not aggressive, Liam's heart pounded. He had heard stories about bear attacks, and he didn't want to be part of one. The group stood frozen, unsure whether to move or stay still. Then Henry spoke, his voice calm but firm. He told everyone to stay quiet and avoid sudden movements. As long as they kept their distance, the bears wouldn't see them as a threat. Some of the hunters still looked nervous, but they trusted Henry. Slowly, they followed his lead, moving carefully through the trees. Every step felt heavier, but they had no choice. They had to stay together, hoping the bears would lose interest and let them pass. However, the climb wasn't getting any easier. Liam felt the weight of the journey pressing down on him with every step. His legs ached, his breath grew heavy, and doubt started creeping into his mind. Was he really meant for this kind of adventure? The ground beneath them became steeper, and several hunters were slowing down, struggling to keep up. But something inside Liam wouldn't let him stop. He didn't know why, but he pushed forward, determined to prove to himself that he could do this, like they were heading into the unknown, a place where no one had ever gone before. Then, out of nowhere, a deep growl broke the silence. The group stopped instantly. Hearts pounded as eyes darted in every direction, searching for the source of the sound. Henry raised his hand, signaling for silence. They held their breath. Then, through the mist, it appeared, a massive bear standing tall in the clearing. It wasn't attacking, but its sheer size and presence sent a chill through the group. No one dared to move. Before they could react, the bear let out a thunderous roar. Birds shot into the sky, and the ground seemed to shake beneath them. "Don't run!" Henry shouted, his voice firm, but fear took over. Some hunters panicked and bolted into the trees, vanishing in seconds. Henry's commands were lost in the chaos. Liam, frozen in fear, crouched behind a large rock, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. What had he gotten himself into? Were the others safe? How were they supposed to escape? Then, something even more terrifying happened. The bear was gone. One moment it was there, towering over them, and now it had vanished. The silence that followed was even worse than the roar. Liam's hands trembled. How could such a massive creature disappear so easily? And more importantly, where was it now? Then, something even stranger happened. A small bear cub, likely lost from its mother, appeared right in front of Liam. Instead of running away, it walked up to him and pressed its warm, furry body against his leg. Liam froze. The softness of the cub was nothing like the fear he had felt moments ago. It was as if, for a brief second, the danger around him had disappeared. He looked down at the little bear, amazed by its innocence. But deep inside, he knew he couldn't stay there forever. Then, a deep, rumbling growl sent chills down his spine. The adult bear was back, and this time, it wasn't just watching, it was coming straight for him. Liam's instincts took over. He scooped up the cub and ran, his legs moving faster than they ever had before. His breath was ragged, his chest burning, but he didn't stop. He needed to find the others, but the deeper he went into the forest, the more alone he felt. Then, he burst into a clearing, gasping for air. Just as he thought he might have escaped, the massive bear stepped out from the shadows. It was bigger than anything Liam had ever seen, and now there was nowhere left to run. The bear stood in front of him, its eyes locked onto the cub in his arms. It knew exactly what Liam was holding. His legs felt weak, his breath unsteady. Running was no longer an option. He had to decide what to do. With shaking hands, he knelt down and gently placed the cub on the ground. But something was wrong. The cub didn't move. It just stood there, looking up at Liam as if unsure of what to do. His heart pounded. Why wasn't it running back to its mother? Seconds felt like hours. The massive bear took a step forward, its deep breaths echoing in the silent forest. Liam held his breath. Then, at last, the cub turned and hurried toward its mother. Liam felt a rush of relief as he watched them reunite. The bear let out a low huff, almost as if acknowledging Liam's actions. Then, without another glance, it turned and disappeared into the trees with its cub. Liam stood frozen for a moment before slowly stepping back into the woods. His heart was still racing, but he had survived. This journey had tested him in ways he never expected, and he would never forget it.